Hello everyone. Today I will continue sharing with you the story of the single mother, Ju-han. I hope you enjoy the video. After being entrusted with the entire inheritance and the rights to the front-facing property, Tan and Ju-han felt as if their lives had stepped into a new chapter. The sense of being trusted, of being given responsibility, filled them with both happiness and a deeper awareness of the weight on their shoulders. That evening, when the baby was already sleeping quietly in the cradle, Han brought a cup of tea to the dining table, her eyes sparkling as if she were hiding a lovely little secret. Tan noticed and smiled. "What is it? Why is my wife staring at me like that?" Han hesitated for a moment, then gathered her courage to finally speak out about the dream she had carried for so long. "Tan, I want to open a clean vegetable and fruit shop. Vegetables we grow ourselves, fruits we take care of ourselves. I think, if we do it properly, a lot of people will trust our produce." Tan set down his cup, listening with rare attentiveness. Han continued, her voice growing more excited with every word. "I want to do everything with my own hands, to build a small cozy place. I love the thought of harvesting every morning, then arranging each basket of vegetables neatly on the shelves. I'm thinking the shop should be called Han Tana's Garden Produce. Doesn't it sound adorable?" Tan let out a soft laugh, but his eyes showed complete support. "It's a wonderful idea. And if that's your dream, I'll do it with you. Whatever style of shop you want, whatever location you prefer, we'll plan it all together." Han was so happy she clasped her hands tightly, her face glowing as if a light had just been switched on inside her. As long as Tan stood by her side, everything felt possible. That very night, the two opened the laptop and began searching for a suitable storefront. Tan reviewed locations and foot traffic. Han carefully wrote down ideas for decoration, shelving layout, and the types of vegetables she would grow. The little room was filled with excitement and hope. "I think the area near the school looks promising," Tan said, turning the screen toward her. "And I want lots of natural light in the shop," Han replied softly but confidently. They stayed up late into the night planning finances, designing a signboard, and estimating renovation costs. But instead of feeling tired, they spent the whole evening smiling. Because Han's dream no longer felt distant. It was slowly turning into reality piece by piece. Tan looked at his wife, gently placing his hand over hers. "Let's build this together. Not just the shop, but our family's future." Han nodded, her nose tingling with emotion. She knew, the best part wasn't owning a shop. It was building it together with the man who always stood on her side. The next morning, when the grandparents came over to visit their grandchild, Tan and Han took the chance to go out and inspect the locations they had bookmarked the night before. Early sunlight glowed softly, and the gentle wind made Han clutch her notebook as she excitedly chattered about her vision. A clean, welcoming shop with ample daylight and space for the woven baskets she adored. Tan held her hand lightly, smiling. "As long as you like it, I'll make it happen." Their first stop was a small house near the market, spacious but a bit noisy with limited parking. Han stood there for a moment before shaking her head. It didn't match the image she dreamed of. Tan simply nodded, encouraging her, reminding her there were many more places to see. The second location near the school was in a great spot with lots of foot traffic, but inside it was dim due to blocked sunlight. Han tried imagining the shop after renovations, but the lack of light made her uneasy. She softly said she wanted somewhere brighter. Tan agreed immediately, continuing the search with her. Finally, they stopped in front of a small storefront with white walls and clear glass doors. A tiny patio in front provided just enough space for a few pots of greenery. When they stepped inside, natural light flooded the room, making Han's eyes sparkle instantly. She walked around, touching the old wooden shelves that remained, feeling an odd sense of rightness, like the place was made to become the clean produce shop she had always envisioned. She turned to Tan, eyes shimmering with hope, and with just one firm nod from him, all her doubts melted away. Her smile lit up so radiantly that even the sunlight seemed to dim beside her happiness. Right after signing the contract, they began fixing up the shop. In the days that followed, Tan handled installing shelves, repainting walls, checking the wiring and plumbing, while Han took charge of decorations, choosing baskets, ordering the signboard, and arranging seasonal produce displays. Some days they were so exhausted they just wanted to sit on the floor and sigh, but seeing the space slowly transform made them keep going with renewed energy. Han sketched in her notebook, excitedly saying this corner would hold tomatoes, that corner would be for herbs, while Tan eagerly promised to build sturdier shelves so she could arrange everything with ease. When everything was nearly finished, Han stood before the newly hung sign, Han Tana's Garden Produce. A gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh wood and young plants. She reached out, touching the sign lightly as her eyes stung with emotion. She had never imagined her little dream would one day become so real. Tan stepped beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. His warm voice steadied her heart, filling her with certainty. And in that moment, as Han rested her head on his shoulder, both of them felt clearly. A new chapter was beginning, not only for the shop, but for the future of their little family. The grand opening arrived faster than Han expected. Early in the morning, the couple was already at the shop for the final preparations. Han adjusted each basket of vegetables, each bundle of fragrant herbs still dewy from dawn, while Tan checked the signboard, lights, and cash register. Sunlight streamed through the glass door, making the shop glow as if it had taken its first breath of life. As soon as they opened the door, Tana's parents arrived first, carrying a basket of fruit as a congratulatory gift. His mother walked around, unable to hide her pride. "It's beautiful, Han. I can tell you put so much effort into this." Han blushed, bowing her head while her heart fluttered wildly. Tan stood beside her with a gentle smile, the affection in his eyes giving her even more confidence. Not long after, the first customers began to drop in. A teacher from the nearby school stepped inside, looking around with delight. "Oh my, these veggies are so fresh. You can tell they were harvested today." Han greeted her politely, her soft voice filled with enthusiasm. She introduced each type of vegetable, explained how she grew them, how she harvested them, and even how to store them properly to keep their flavor. Watching her speak so naturally, Tan felt a warmth in his chest. She seemed born to do this. The teacher picked a few bundles of water spinach, some mustard greens, and a small basket of tomatoes. At the register, she smiled and said, "I'll be coming back often. Clean produce and a sweet shop owner. What more could I ask for?" Han's eyes sparkled. It was the first compliment for her shop, and yet it carried enough strength to make her heart tremble with happiness. By mid-morning, customers came and went steadily. Some had heard about the new shop and wanted to try it. Others wandered in out of curiosity after seeing the cute wooden sign. Everyone admired the neatness, the cleanliness, and the irresistibly fresh-looking vegetables. Tan busied himself helping pack orders, restocking shelves, occasionally glancing at his wife as she passionately explained things to customers. Each glance filled him with a deep, quiet pride. By noon, when the crowd thinned, Han sat down on a small chair behind the counter. She looked at her hands, still stained with bits of dry soil from the morning harvest, then looked around at the shop filled with greenery, and finally at Tan wiping down the fruit display. Suddenly, she felt like she was living inside a dream she once thought was far out of reach. Tan sat beside her, handing her a cold bottle of water. "Tired yet, my love?" Han shook her head, eyes shining. "Not tired. I just feel happy. So happy I can't believe this is real." Tan rubbed her back gently. "I told you, didn't I? If it's your dream, I'll walk with you until the end." Han rested her head on his shoulder, hearing the warmth of his heartbeat in that small, tender moment. Outside, the wind rustled the wooden sign as if congratulating them on their new beginning. And right then Han realized, today wasn't just the grand opening of their clean produce shop. It was the day she truly began a new chapter of her life. In the afternoon, the sunlight softened and the breeze grew cooler. The shop was calmer after the morning rush, though some customers still came by to buy vegetables for dinner. Han took the chance to tidy up the shelves, making sure everything looked as neat as when the shop first opened. Meanwhile, Tan checked the inventory and made notes about what they needed to harvest the next morning. Around late afternoon, the teacher from earlier returned, surprising Han immensely. She smiled warmly. "I cooked the water spinach I bought this morning. It was so sweet. My daughter loved it and kept asking for more. So I came back for extra." Han was so happy she froze for a moment before responding. "Thank you so much, ma'am. Please feel free to choose whatever you like." That became the shop's very first returning customer on opening day. The teacher bought some bok choy, herbs, and a few more items before wishing the couple well. Keep up this quality. I'm sure this shop will get very busy. After she left, Han turned to Tan with a radiant face and overflowing pride. Tan, we already have a returning customer on our first day. Tan laughed and gently ruffled her hair. Of course. You're such a sweet, attentive shop owner. Han blushed, her heart racing like a teenager in love. She bent down to arrange the vegetables again, unable to hide the smile that refused to leave her lips. By late evening, the couple closed the shop to review the day. Tan brought out the revenue notebook while Han sat beside him, more anxious than she'd ever been, waiting for an exam result. After adding everything up, he looked at her with mild surprise. Han, today we earned more than I expected. Her eyes widened. More? How much exactly? Tan handed her the notebook. The number wasn't huge, but for a brand new shop, it was far beyond expectations. Han covered her mouth, her voice trembling. Oh really? We did this well. Tan moved his chair closer, placing his hand over hers. It's all thanks to you. You grow good produce, you sell with heart. Anyone can see your sincerity. Han lowered her head, her nose stinging. Her feet ached, her hands were sore from cutting vegetables all day. But suddenly everything felt worth it. She looked around the little shop. There was still the scent of fresh wood, a few baskets not yet rearranged, but to her it was more beautiful than any place she had ever been. Thank you, Tan, she whispered, pouring all her sincerity into the words. If it weren't for you, I don't think I would have dared to open this shop. Tan tilted his head, pulled her gently into his arms. I didn't do it for you, I just walked beside you. Everything today, you created it yourself. In that embrace, Han suddenly understood something. Not only was the shop growing each day, she herself was growing stronger and more hopeful than ever. That evening, after they locked the door and walked hand in hand into the quiet street, the night breeze carried a soft peace with it. Han looked up at the warmly lit sign and whispered, "Tomorrow we'll do even better." And as always, Tan simply smiled and held her hand a little tighter. After the woman left, the shop returned to its usual morning rhythm. But Han stood still for a few seconds, as if her mind hadn't caught up with the huge news that had just fallen onto her. It wasn't until Tan gently took her wrist and brought her back to reality that she blinked repeatedly. You okay? Tan asked, amusement in his voice. I still can't believe it, Han whispered, her heart beating faster than usual. He chuckled softly and placed a hand on her back. Believe it. This shop won't just be selling to a few families. It'll have regulars, partners, and people who come because they trust us. Han lowered her head, cheeks flushed with emotion. She recalled the night she stayed up, hands trembling from exhaustion, still tending to the vegetables. The early mornings when she cut each bundle of greens still covered in dew. The countless times she rearranged the displays because she wasn't satisfied yet. All that effort was finally answering her in the most beautiful way. For the rest of the morning, the couple worked with an unusual excitement. As she worked, Han mentally took notes. Plant more spinach, more water celery, keep the quality exactly like the first day. Now and then, Tan glanced at her and saw her smiling unconsciously, and his own heart felt lighter, like he was watching a tiny seed of happiness sprout. By noon, when customers slowed, Han opened her notebook and with slightly trembling hands, wrote a small line. Day 2. Potential major partnership. When she finished, she pressed her lips together and smiled like a child receiving a secret gift. That afternoon, they closed the shop earlier than usual to prepare for the trial order the next day. Han walked around the shop, examining each shelf as if checking the health of children she had raised herself. The tender leaves, the bowls of bright red tomatoes, the bundles of crisp greens. They made her feel that the shop was no longer just a business. It was part of their family. Tan, she called softly. I want to do really well. Not just to sell, but so people can trust us. So they can feel our heart in every bundle. Tan sat beside her, gently touching her hand. That's exactly what I love about you. You put your heart into everything you do. Han laughed softly, her eyes shimmering, reflecting the sunset glancing off the shop's glass. She leaned her head on his shoulder, letting the peaceful moment sink into her heart. Day 2 ended like a gentle melody, carrying a promising message for the future. From now on, the little shop would not only sustain their livelihood, it would nurture trust, dreams, and connections they never imagined. And that night, as they walked home, Han looked up at the softly glowing sign as if watching something grow alongside her. She said nothing, only squeezed Tana's hand tightly. Tan simply smiled, for he knew her dream was blooming right before their eyes. The next morning, Tan and Han woke earlier than usual. The sky was still misty, yet they were already busy preparing the first batch of vegetables for delivery to the vegetarian restaurant. Han carefully selected each bundle of greens, each bunch of water spinach, each basket of shiny red tomatoes. She wiped off every drop of moisture, making sure everything looked as fresh as promised. The first order has to be perfect, she reminded herself, working steadily. Tan helped carry the wooden crates to the truck, securing each one tightly. Seeing how carefully Han handled everything, as if she was afraid of bending a single leaf, he chuckled. "You're being too meticulous. It's the first order, love. It has to be done properly." "I know, but don't worry. Our vegetables are already good." When everything was ready, they got in the truck together. On the way to the restaurant, Han kept pressing her lips together, her fingers gripping the edge of her shirt nervously. "You worried?" Tan asked. "Of course, what if they don't like it? If they don't, we adjust. But I believe they'll love it." Han took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. The truck stopped in front of a small restaurant decorated with wood and greenery. The woman from yesterday, the owner, was already standing outside waiting. When she saw them carrying the crates, she walked over immediately, her eyes sharp and observant. Han opened the first crate. The fresh, cool scent of vegetables spread instantly, brightening the whole space. Neatly arranged inside were crisp greens and plump, red tomatoes. The owner didn't speak right away. She lifted a bundle, turned it to inspect the stems, smelled it, and even pulled off a leaf to test its crispness. Tan stood beside Han, silently watching every small change in the woman's expression. After a long moment, the owner set the bundle down and smiled warmly. "Very good vegetables. Fresh, crisp, natural scent. Not many places can keep this level of freshness." Han let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Her hands trembled slightly from joy. The owner inspected each type, nodding approvingly every time. Finally, she looked at Han with genuine satisfaction. "I'm very pleased with this batch. If you can keep this quality, I want to place a fixed order. Double today's amount every day." Han froze. Even Tan blinked in surprise. "Double?" Han stammered. "Yes. My restaurant is busy, and clean ingredients are essential. I want long-term cooperation. Can you handle it?" Han turned to Tan. He looked at her with bright, steady confidence. He nodded without hesitation. "Yes, we can," Han answered, this time with unwavering determination. The owner laughed warmly and shook both their hands. "Then from today onward, we're partners." When their hands met, Han felt like the future had opened right before her. Their little shop was no longer just a neighborhood store. It was beginning to earn a real place in the world. On the way back, Han hugged the order book tightly, her face flushed like the morning sun. "Tan, we did it. They really like our vegetables." Tan looked at her, offering a smile she knew she would remember for a lifetime. "I told you, when you put your heart into something, people feel it." Han lowered her head as happy tears threatened to spill. She tugged lightly on his sleeve, and he understood immediately, wrapping an arm around her shoulders and letting her lean on him for the rest of the ride home. That was the day Han's dream stopped being just a seed. It finally began to bloom. When they arrived home, Han was still clutching the order notebook tightly, her cheeks flushed with joy. The moment Tan opened the door, his parents looked at the two of them in surprise, because just one glance was enough to see that they were carrying some very big news. Mrs. Tan put the bowl of porridge down on the table and walked over. "Why do you two look so excited? Something good happened." Before Han could respond, Tan gently nudged her forward, as if giving her the honor of telling the story herself. Han hesitated for a few seconds, then her voice burst out, unable to hold back. Mother, the big vegetarian restaurant nearby wants to order vegetables from me and Tan every day. They tried our first batch and praised it a lot. And they want double the amount. She didn't even finish her sentence when Mrs. Tana's eyes widened and Mr. Tan shot up from his chair. Is that true, dear? Her father-in-law asked, his voice filled with astonishment. Yes, it's true. I still can't believe it myself. Han beamed, her face glowing like a child proudly showing off a perfect score. Mrs. Tan wrapped her arms around Han's shoulders, her warm hands trembling slightly from emotion. Oh my goodness! You just opened the shop a few days ago, and someone already trusts you enough to place such a big order. You're amazing, Han. I'm so proud of you. Han felt her nose sting. Being acknowledged, being loved. She couldn't hold back and leaned her head into her mother-in-law's embrace. Mrs. Tan stroked her hair gently, just like she would her own daughter. Remember to keep the quality, okay? Long-term business begins with trust. Yes, mother. I remember, Han whispered, small but full of determination. Mr. Tan crossed his arms, looking at the couple with a rare brightness in his eyes. I told you, when you work hard, heaven rewards you. Just keep going. Your mother and I are always behind you. The warmth in the room was so overwhelming that Han almost burst into tears from happiness. She never imagined that her life, once defined by the simple wish for a peaceful small family, would become filled with love and the chance to grow something she truly cared about. That evening, the whole family gathered for dinner. The baby babbled in the cradle, and little Tom chirped excitedly. Mommy, is your shop famous now? Tomorrow I'll help you sell, okay? Everyone burst into laughter. Han looked at her son, then at Tan, her heart softening like warm water. Later that night, when the couple lay in bed, Han turned to look at Tan under the soft glow of the bedside lamp. Tang, I'm really happy. I feel like all our efforts were worth it. Tan reached over, took her hand and squeezed it gently. Yeah, and this is only the beginning. Han rested her head on his chest, listening to the familiar rhythm of his heartbeat. In that sound she found all the peace she ever needed. Tomorrow, the shop would receive its first major order. Tomorrow, Han would again be busy with fresh harvests. And tomorrow her dream would continue to blossom, supported by her husband, her family and the strong, hopeful heart within her.
Hello mọi người, lại là mình đây. Rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình nha. Câu chuyện hôm nay mình chia sẻ về Diệu Hân. Sau khi bố mẹ Thành giao lại tài sản cho Thành và Hân thì cô đã quyết định mở một cửa hàng rau sạch. Vườn rau cũng chính tay Hân và Thành trồng. Và cửa hàng rau kinh doanh rất là thuận lợi. Cuộc sống của Hân mở sang một trang mới với những hạnh phúc và bình yên sau chuỗi ngày khó khăn chồng chất. Và tiếp theo thì những video mới Diệu Hân và Thành sẽ mở rộng mô hình kinh doanh như thế nào, hai người sẽ đón chào cuộc sống mới ra sao thì mời mọi người cùng đón xem ở những video tiếp theo nha. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay và ủng hộ kênh của mình trong suốt thời gian vừa qua. Hy vọng rằng mọi người vẫn sẽ yêu thích kênh của mình và chia sẻ đến cho mọi người để mọi người cùng biết. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người ở video lần sau nha.